Hey everyone, and welcome to the OklaRoots YouTube channel. In today's embroidery tutorial, we're going to be going over the most adorable little mouse pads from Rosebarn Embroidery. Now, Rosebarn has two different versions of this mouse pad. Each version comes in 4 sizes. The smallest size is itty bitty. Look how stinking cute this is. Okay, so this is the size that you would do on a 5x7 hoop. Now, 5x7 hoop is a hoop that most of us have. For some of us, it's the biggest hoop we have. So this is not a functional mat. I'll just show you. Here's my mouse that I use with my computer, and here it is next to the mouse pad. It wouldn't really work as a mouse pad. However, I don't want you to look at it that way. I want you to look at this in a different way. This is, in my opinion, one of the best gifts you can give to anybody who this year had to work from home or do online schooling. Because the computer became a much bigger family member to most of us this year than normal. This is the best gift to give as a coaster. Yes. Coffee mug rug, coaster. Look how adorable that is. If you made this, make this, find a funny cup. You can go to any store anywhere. They probably have like a funny little coffee cup with something related to 2020 on it. Give that as a gift together. Oh my gosh. I know for me personally, this is going on my desk and I will use it every day because it's so cute. It is very, very small. This is also great if you have a little kid, like a little toddler in your life, and you're working on the computer a lot. They can have, just like an old mouse that doesn't work anymore, and let them play with it too so that they're, just being like mommy and daddy. I think that's a cute idea for this as well. If you have a bigger hoop, there are bigger options. So this is the 7x12 hoop size. This works very well as a mouse pad, as it should. So you can see that these are different versions. So this is version 1, where it's a little bit more curvy. This is version 2. Both are quilted very nicely. They have different quilting designs. On the smaller curvy version, we have like circles interlocking with one another. And then on this bigger, more rectangular shape, we have like a little bit of swirly whirlies. I don't know what they're called, but they're more of like a feathering look. Both have a little foam pad here for you to set your wrist on, which I think is adorable. It's so easy to put together too, you guys. It comes together fast, it's easy. You can be kind of messy, kind of sloppy, and it still looks really, really nice. So this is what we're gonna go over today. In today's tutorial, I'm gonna be walking you through the more rectangular shape, but at the smallest size. So I'll be using a 5x7 hoop. I just wanna show you how fast it comes together, how cute it is. As small as this is, I am actually really hoping that she comes out with an even smaller one for a 4x4 hoop, because I think this would also be a great Christmas ornament. You know how a lot of us have Christmas ornaments for like masks or for toilet paper, just little funny things that are just, remind us of 2020, but want to remind us in more of a humorous way. This is another one of those things I think would be great. This would be a fantastic little ornament because we were all working from home this year. So thank you so much to Rosebarn Embroidery for allowing me to film a tutorial for these adorable little mouse pads. I'm super excited to share this with everybody, I hope. I've already seen these all over social media, which is what got me to try them, but I'm hoping to see a whole lot more. Since this is an embroidery tutorial, you will need an embroidery machine to make it. I will be using my single needle machine, which is a Bernina 770. I will be using a oval size hoop, which is equivalent to a 5x7 hoop. I also just purchased this giant maxi hoop for my Bernina, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna walk you through how to make the smaller one first in the rectangular design, and then we're gonna try out the maxi hoop and we're gonna make the larger one, probably the second to maybe the largest, we'll see how big we can get, in the more swirly whirly one. So the smaller one, I'm gonna walk you through it every step by step. For the bigger one, I'm just gonna let it kind of fast forward through with some fun music. So if you're new to the channel, please consider clicking subscribe down below. If at any point you like this video, please give it a like. Any questions, comments, anything at all you wanna say, leave them down in the comment section below. I will have a few timestamps down in the comment section as well. This is a very quick project, but I know there are just a couple different steps. I love this because you don't need a whole lot of stuff, especially if you're making the smaller one. This is so scrappy, you guys, so scrappy. I will tell you, I used quilt cotton, so like cotton woven, just regular quilter's cotton for the base of this, and then cotton lycra for the little mouse pad area. You want some stretchy fabric to go over this foamy area. For For the foam, I just use some of my soft and stable, or you can get the Pellon foam, you know, just like bag making foam. I used 2 layers of that, spray glued them together, cut them out, worked perfectly. For the back, I just used a piece of cork. I will tell you I had an issue with this one, and it had nothing to do with the design. It has to do with the fact that I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. So when you stitch this out, you're going to be stitching it out on a mesh wash away material. So a stabilizer that's mesh that you can get wet and it can wash away, but it's more firm. There's another type of water wash away stabilizer that you would use that would go over a design. So like if you were using really fluffy fabric, you would use this wash away stabilizer over it. It's a very, very thin plastic. I actually use that as the stabilizer for this bigger one on my big embroidery machine, so my Ricoma EM1010, which doesn't have a table, it just has a little arm. So what happened was while it was stitching, it was kind of sagging down. Lots of misaligned things here. I mean, I messed it up so bad, so bad. But it still turned out really, really cute. I mean, this is still a beautiful, usable gift. So I just wanted to warn you, make sure you use the right stabilizer. I'll have a link for what I use down below that is better. And I'm not gonna link what I used for this one, which was not what you're supposed to use. All right, let's get started. All right, we have a really rainy day here in Florida today, so it's a little dark. I apologize for all the shadows. But when you print this out, one of the things you're gonna wanna print out is the page that has the templates, and this is gonna be for your wrist holder. So you can see it's this bottom part right here. It's actually for the foam. So you're gonna wanna print out this sheet. So this is the template for the second version of the mouse pad. As you can see, there's 4 different sizes. Personally, I would just go through and mark the sizes for which hoop each one of these goes through so I don't get confused later. So the smallest size is for 5x7. The next one is for a 6x10 hoop, and then a 7x12 hoop, and finally the 8x12 hoop. Today I'm doing the 5x7 hoop, so here's the material we're going to need for that. You're going to need a cut of foam. Now here's the thing, the 5x7 template for the little wrist pad is very, very small, so you really only need a very small scrap of your foam. You can go out and buy 1/2 inch to 1 inch thick foam, or you can use some by any soft and stable or the Pellon foam, the type of foam we used for bag making. Cut 2 out, and then I just used some 505 spray to spray them together. So now they're glued together, and then I traced out my pattern piece on top of it, and then I'm going to show you how we kind of shave this down for the design. For the back of my mouse pad, I'm going to use this really fun cork. This is from Sally Tomato. It does stick pretty nicely. You want to be careful about using really sticky material if you have a single needle machine because it can stick to your machine bottom. What I suggest doing is get a nice piece of wash away mesh and cover the entire bottom of your sewing machine with it and tape it down so that this doesn't stick to it. For the background on my mouse pad, I'll be using this piece of quilt cotton here. You're going to also want a cut of batting since we're going to be quilting this. We want it to have a nice soft batting backing. And then to cover the little foam wrist pad, I'll be using this cotton lycra cut here. Make sure you're using something stretchy. It's going to make it a lot easier, and it's going to prevent any like little pleats or odd notches. The measurements for all of these items are in the pattern, and every size has its own unique measurements. So make sure you check that out before you start stitching everything in place. So here's all the stuff I'll be using for the first pad. First, I have this aqua mesh. So let's see, this is from OESD. And it's the aqua mesh wash away. You want this to be mesh. This is much firmer and thicker and more stable than that really loose aqua top. Don't use the aqua top as your stabilizer. I did it, it was bad, don't do it. So you're gonna want a mesh wash away stabilizer. Next, I have the scissors that I always use in my embroidery projects. I have my little applique scissors. These are really good for cutting close to stitches when you're trimming fabric away. I'll show you that step. Then I have my thread scissors, some fabric scissors. The needles I like to use on my single needle embroidery machine are the Schmetz Super Universal Non-Stick needles. I'm using size 80-12. I have my oval size hoop, which is going to fit the 5x7 version. And then I just have some Isacord 40 thread. So the first thing you want to do is load up your design. You can see I'm making the more rectangular shape today. I'm making the 5x7. This is my oval hoop. You can see it just fits in the oval hoop. So I really couldn't make a bigger size than this with this hoop. That's perfectly fine. I think it's an adorable, adorable little project. So once you have it loaded, let's go ahead and prep our hoop. So what I'm gonna do is just unroll my mesh wash away stabilizer and cut it so it will cover my hoop. So then I can take my bottom hoop, lay my stabilizer over it, take my top hoop, and just tuck it in. There we go. And then I'll tighten it up a bit. All right, now we can just insert this into the embroidery machine. Before we get started, let's go ahead and prep our little wrist pad. So you can see I just traced it out onto my foam, and I'm using 2 pieces of foam. It ends up about 1/2 inch, so I'm cutting just outside of my marked line. As you can see, it's very, very small. And then what we want to do is just from the bottom going to the top, we want to create like an angle. So I just take my scissors at an angle and just kind of shave it down. Now here's the thing, it doesn't have to be perfect, especially if you're making the tiny one and it's going to be a coaster. We just more want the look of the mouse pad. So as you can see, this is not perfect. It's not very clean, but it's going to be fine. So I'm going to put this to the side, don't lose it. So the first step is just going to be a placement stitch, and it's going to help us navigate where we need to put our fabric. I'm using white thread, so it's not going to be very noticeable, but just know it's about the size of the hoop. So once you have this traced out, you're going to want to grab your backing fabric. So this is going to be the fabric that's going to be seen on the top of the mouse pad. Again, I suggest quilt cotton, and your batting. Now, I don't have these sprayed together using any sort of glue adhesive. You definitely can adhere these together using the glue adhesive, but the next step is going to keep it all in place pretty well. Make sure that both the batting and your fabric cover your stitch out on your wash away stabilizer. Once it's in place, go ahead and do the next step, which is just going to tack the whole thing down. All right, so the step after this is going to add that fun quilting design to this. If you want to make this a different thread color, don't forget to change it out now. But I'm just going to keep mine with the white thread because I want the look of the quilting, but I don't want those really harsh, dark lines. Okay, once the quilting is done, don't take it out just yet. The next step is going to run a placement stitch down here for our foam cut. So go ahead and run that, and then we'll start messing with the foam. Okay, next you're gonna grab your itty bitty little foam cut, and you're just gonna center that over that placement stitch that you just made, just like that. It should be smaller. It's supposed to be smaller. There's gonna be a lot of satin stitching around this later. Then grab your stretchy material and just cover that foam. What you want to be careful of here is when you're putting on the stretchy fabric, you can accidentally move the foam around. What you can do is actually just spray the back of this. Now, I'm not going to spray next to my embroidery machine, but spray the back of your foam piece with some spray glue. And then once that's sprayed, put that centered on your little trace out here, and that will help keep it in place. And then grab your knit fabric and just drape it over so that it covers everything. Now I am going to very lightly kind of manipulate this as it stitches out just to make sure I don't get any pleating. The nice thing about stretchy fabric is that you can really pull it around in whatever direction you need to make it work, but I just don't want it to get caught up in anything. You could also just tape this down and that would be fine as well. So now we're gonna run the tack down for this knit fabric. All right, there we go. I know some of you really hate when I put my fingers close. I promise you the camera makes it look like my fingers are closer to the needle than they are. I keep them very far away. So now let's take this out of the machine and we're just gonna trim our knit fabric around our stitching. So this is where those little curved embroidery scissors come in handy. What I do is I just pull up on my fabric, and the nice thing about cotton lycra is that it's stretchy, so you can really get close to your stitches without actually cutting them. So I just pull up on the fabric and I get close to my stitches. Don't cut your stitches, but you want to get pretty close to it. We're going to be doing a satin stitch over these raw edges to hide them. But you don't want any of this fabric peeking through outside of the satin stitch. So as close as you can get without cutting the thread. There we go. Isn't this just adorable? I love this. This little pop of red here. I love the quilting on it. Oh, wow. I love everything about this. Okay, let's put this back in the machine now. And now the next step is going to do a satin stitch over these raw edges, just really polishing this up. Okay, so now we're going to take the hoop out and we're going to attach the backing. So remove your hoop and then just flip this over. Oh, that looks so pretty on the back. And now I am just using this cork. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spray adhesive and I'm just going to spray the back of my cork and then just stick it over the back of my design just like that. You just want to make sure your cork is big enough and it covers the entire design. There we go. So I press it lightly from the back, but I don't really want to push on my stabilizer. So I flip it over and then I'll press it more firmly from the front where I get it nice and flat. There we go. And then we just put this back in the machine. All right, make sure that that backing is nice and flat. And now we're just going to tack down the backing. Okay, once that's done, let's remove it from the machine. Keep everything on the hoop. Now what we want to do is we want to cut all of our fabric as close as we can around the outside of this stitching. You're going to do this on the top, so that quilt cotton on the top and your batting, and also on the backing. So I'm going to do the top first, and then I'll flip it over and I'll cut down on the cork. All right, so you can see I just cut down the batting and the front fabric, so now I'm just going to flip this over, and gently I'm going to cut the backing as well. What you want to avoid here is like pushing down on this too much and then loosening up your stabilizer. You want to keep this as taut as possible, but you also want to cut close to those stitches. So just do your best here. This cork is just amazing. And I really think this cork is just perfect for the backing. I mean, I feel bad because it's on the underside, so you don't see it as much, but if this was an ornament, this would be a beautiful, beautiful ornament. Okay, so now we can just flip this back over and put it back into our machine. And the last step is going to do a beautiful satin stitch around the entire edge, which is just going to close in all the raw edges of the front fabric, the batting, and the backing. Now that it's done, you can take it out of the machine. So now you can just spray the edges with water if you'd like, and it will all melt away, but it is pretty gooey when you do that. So I am going to trim close to the edges. And here's the thing, you don't want to trim any of your threads. Trust me, I did that before. If you trim any of these satin stitches, they're all gonna unravel. It's not fun. So I'm just gonna trim it a little bit. Another option is I have a wet cloth here, and I can just run that wet cloth over the satin stitch and then just pull it away. All right, isn't that just adorable? Look at that. Oh, we got some threads back here. Let's trim those. I will say the easiest way to get that interfacing off is to just use a spray bottle and spray around the edges, and then once this dries, it'll be fine. But look how cute this is. So let me show you a size comparison real quick. So this is the second version, and this is the first version. They're both made in 5x7 hoops. Let's see. The second version is about 5 inches wide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by a little over 6 inches tall. And the first version is 5 inches wide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by a little over 6 inches tall. So they're essentially the same size, just different shapes. Once again, I think these make perfect coffee cups, coasters, wine glass holders, whatever you want to use it for. I think these are adorable. So now you can see here, I have this giant hoop I just purchased. I am going to try to not break it. I am going to try out this giant hoop here, and I am going to try to make one of the bigger sizes. I'm going to try to make the second to largest size in this large hoop. I am just going to fast forward through all of it, so I'll put some music on. If you're not interested in watching this, then the tutorial is over.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and days of old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll talk a cup of kindness yet for days of old lang syne. And here's a hand, my trusty friend, and here's a hand of thine. We'll talk a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne. For old lang syne.
All right, so here is the small version that we walked through together. I love this. I will say that the small version that's like a rectangle is a little bit bigger than the small version that's all curvy-wurvy. So this is the second version she came out with. This is the first version she came out with. So if you wanted one that, you know, is a little bit bigger, this would be great for that. This would also be really cute if you put like a pad of sticky notes on here, you know, like Post-it notes. You can attach that to here and this would be like a little Post-it note holder. There's a lot of fun creative things you can do with this. I know that the title of it is mouse pad because that's the design, but I really feel like you can create a lot of fun different projects out of this design. So for me personally, I'm gonna be gifting some of these as coasters, and some of these can be used for little notepad holders. You could put like a really cute little, you know, like one of those lobster clasps on top to hold the papers. Get a cute little pen to go with it. Ah, this is so cute. So then here is the 7x12 hoop rectangle, and this is the 7x12 hoop curvy-wurvy. So you can see that the rectangle one is quite a bit bigger. So if you were gonna make one of these to be used as a mouse pad, you definitely can do that. I would suggest the more rectangular one. So this is the version 2, and I would use either the largest size available or the second largest size available. But look how cute this is. This is such a fun design. I absolutely love these. I could make 100 more. They're so quick, they're so easy, and one of my favorite things about it, especially if you have a single needle machine, is that you could just use one thread color. So for this one right here, I just use white thread. You don't have to keep changing it out for every different step. You can definitely get creative with it, but if you just want to kind of put it in and push go, easy peasy. I love this pattern. So thank you again, Rosebarn, for allowing me to film this tutorial. I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to see what everybody does with this. I can't wait to see if there's some more options coming out soon. Fingers crossed. I hope you're having a great day. I hope you have a fantastic rest of the week. Get out there and make something. Bye.
For old lang syne, we'll talk